Thank you, EU, for pushing me from an ardent EU supporter through skepticism to no thank you, I have enough problems with my own national government to have to deal with you as well. Because today you have ended my livelihood, in all likelihood at least. I am both a consumer and a creator. Most creators are themselves consumers, you see. Most authors have read a book or several before they were inspired to write one themselves. As most musicians were inspired by previous musicians, comedians by comedy, and so on, etc., und so weiter, med mera ad infinitum, in absurdum, and ad nauseam. Creators usually keep consuming others' work throughout their lives, so starting with your distinction between creator and consumer, you are wrong. I comment, critique, and satirize culture. That's what I do, and I know there's an exception for parody, caricature, and satire. But how are these automated filters going to know the difference between news reporting, politics, and satire? Because these days I can hardly tell the difference between the two, and I'm a political satirist. Only 2 days ago I made a meme out of an interview with our Social Democratic Prime Minister Stefan Löfven from Swedish State Television's interview with him. I quoted him saying, "Our party has always stood up against oppression, and it doesn't matter what kind of oppression it is." And then I edited in a collage I made a picture of the Nazi eagle holding the Social Democrats party logo in its grip. Childish, I know, but I couldn't help myself, and yes, it was a bit more fun to watch than hear it explained in words. But the reason I did that is because the Social Democratic Party cooperated with Hitler Germany throughout the war, has never admitted it, keep denying it, and keep denying that they deny it. And that is just part of a long tradition of denying oppression, including not recognizing, for instance, the Armenian-Syrian genocide as a genocide, and being one of the few countries in the Western world that hasn't recognized what has happened to the Yazidis as a genocide. And that is just the latest in a long row of, well, examples. The meme was trying to satirize the historical fact that our Prime Minister was allowed to lie without the journalist gainsaying him or reminding him of any of these or other instances where the Social Democrats have not in fact stood up to oppression, but rather supported it, ignored it, downplayed its crimes, and then, since they are mostly in power here and have built the corporate welfare state, erased such instances from its official history. The clip I quoted, borrowed, or as you would say now, stolen, was 9 seconds long, and as I said, I stole it from Swedish State Television. It is funny all by itself if you know that he's lying through his teeth, or scary if you're not a professionally damaged comedian, I guess. Should I pay for using the clip? You see, I'm already paying for Swedish State Television. It is a propaganda channel for the government, funded by me involuntarily, I might add, through taxes, which I didn't get to vote on. I'm already forced to pay for my own indoctrination on the personal level, as well as my business competition on the professional level. And now you've effectively voted to forbid me to make fun of it, basically. I don't know, by the way, who took the photo of the Nazi eagle, and I guess it's fair a small sum should go to the person who photographed it, but that you also want me to pay the Nazis is just wrong. I don't care if they had great aesthetics, I refuse to pay the Nazis. That was an attempt at satire. Could you tell the difference? The Social Democrats' party logo is not mine either. It belongs to the Social Democrats. Should I pay them both for ruling me poorly and for letting me make fun of them? How is an algorithm or some other technical system going to know all that and decide if it is funny or just sad? The only reason I was for Sweden joining the EU when I was young, to begin with, was freedom of speech, because that is the base pillar of a free society and I would very much like to live in one. Sweden got it in 1994, after we joined. Sweden might boast that it has the oldest freedom of the press in the world, and it often does, but in practice Sweden has had a nice state monopoly on information through state media and subsidies to the so-called free press since before I was born. And I'm 40, so it seems a bit ridiculous, but it is my business, my actual business. But I'm not only saying this as a comedian or satirist, but as a citizen of the Union, because it is my personal business as well. If the EU does not make our lives richer, both economically and culturally, but instead try to impose the sort of shit I wanted into the Union to get away from, then I'm glad you're taking away my livelihood, because then I won't be able to pay your salaries. The problem, as I see it, with my state rights is that they are seen as gifts from the state. But for me, freedom of speech is not a gift. You see, I don't consider freedom of speech a right my government or the EU gives me. I consider my speech to be none of your business.